Om Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Harihi Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishnaaya. Welcome to the 70th week of the readings and reflections on the life of Holy Mother. As usual, we shall read from the book a few passages and then reflect upon some of the points that would come up. This is a book that we have taken up for reading every week. As I told you, this is the 70th week. So the book is written by Srimad Swami Gambhiranandji Maharaj. We are now on the 21st chapter, titled At Belur and Benares, page 263. At Belur and Benares. The mother was expected to come to the Belur Mutt on October 16th, 1912, on the evening of the Bodhana. There is a small note given by the author down below. I'm reading that. According to Hindu belief, the gods and goddesses sleep for 6 months from summer solstice to winter solstice, waking up for 6 months on the latter day. As the Durga worship is celebrated in the first period, she has to be ceremonially awakened. This is done on the 6th day of the bright half of the lunar month. The actual worship takes place on the 3 succeeding days, and the image is immersed on the 10th day of the moon or the 4th day of the worship. This is the note. Evening was advancing, and yet there was no sign of the mother's coming. And so Swami Premananda was moving about in a flurry. At the gate, he saw that the plantain trees and sacred pictures had not been arranged as yet. And he said, "These things have not been done as yet. How can the mother come?" No sooner was the ceremonial awakening of the deity finished than was seen the mother's carriage at the gate. The monks and devotees, led by Swami Premananda, ran up at once, unharnessed the horses, and drew the carriage into the courtyard. As the Swami was thus engaged, one could see him trembling with emotion, joy scintillating from his eyes, face, and every limb. When the carriage stopped, Golapma carefully helped the mother out of it. The mother then looked around with beaming eyes and said, "Everything is ready tip-top. It is as though we ourselves have come attired like the goddess Durga." From that day, the mother stayed on till the 11th day of the moon. She stayed in the southern portion of the garden house, north of the monastery. Along with her, there lived in that house Yoginma, Golapma, Lakshmi Devi, and Bhanupishi. On the second day of the worship, more than 300 devotees bowed down before the mother, one by one. She was sitting on her cot facing west. As each devotee touched her feet, she blessed him. 4 persons had their initiation on that day. The drama, Jana, was enacted that night, and on the night of the immersion ceremony was enacted the Rameshwamedha. The mother witnessed both these performances from the upper story of the monastery. After the 3rd day's worship, Golapma informed Swami Saradananda, "Sharad, the mother is highly pleased with your service and sends you her benediction." The Swami, hardly knowing how to acknowledge that blessing, was deeply moved and exclaimed, "Indeed." And then, looking meaningfully At Swami Premananda, he added, Brother Baburam, did you hear? The latter had heard it well enough. Now, in reply to Swami Sardananda's question, he clasped him in a warm embrace. On the 10th day of the moon, when the image was taken away on a boat for immersion in the Ganges, Dr. Kanjilal danced, gesticulated, and made faces at the image like a child, thereby evoking roars of laughter. But one of the brahmacharis protested against these gestures and postures. The mother was watching the whole scene from her own residence. When a monk drew her attention to the reaction of the puritanic brahmachari, she said, No, no, all this is right. The goddess has to be entertained in every way through music, fun, and frolic. The mother returned to the Udbodhan on October 22nd. This was not either the first or the last visit of the mother to the Belur Mutt during the Durga worship. She was there in Swami Vivekananda's time and also in 1960. With Belur, she had a long association and she had a love for the place. Many a time she had come there and stayed at the garden house of Nilambar Babu or at the rented house at Gusudi. And all those places were sanctified by meditation and japa, religious discussion and practice, spiritual experiences and visions. In a reminiscent mood, she said one day, Ah, how well I was at Belur. What a peaceful place it is. Meditation came naturally. And that is why Naren wanted to have a piece of land there. It was not really Swami Vivekananda alone who wished for a permanent residence there. The mother's will also exerted its influence in bringing about that happy consummation. The monks were aware of this as also the reality which had taken human form in the mother, and hence they could not consider the worship of Durga a success unless she, in her human form, came to the monastery to accept their adoration personally. At the commencement of the worship, her name was ceremonially announced by the priest as the beneficiary of the celebration. And even to this day, that custom is being followed. The memories of the incidents connected with the mother's presence at the Belur Mutt during those festivals are very inspiring to the monks and are treasured by them in their hearts. When the mother came to the place of worship, the monks offered at her feet handfuls of flowers as they did at those of the deity, and they did not consider their worship complete without such an offering. And during the celebration, they kept their eyes fixed on her face. If she smiled, they thought that the goddess had accepted their worship. During one of these celebrations, Swami Brahmananda, the head of the monastery, worshipped her feet with 108 full blown lotuses on the second day of the worship. So, dear devotees and friends, welcome to the 70th week of the readings and reflections on the life of Holy Mother. We are now in the chapter 21 called At Belur and Benares. So, first, welcome to all of you on this auspicious day, being today is the birth Tithi or the Tithi Puja day of Swami Brahmanandaji, who was one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Brahmananji had great reverence and veneration, bhakti at the lotus feet of Holy Mother. He used to be, I was reading today the reminiscence of my Gurudev, that is Srimad Swami Nirvanananji Maharaj, who was direct disciple of Swami Brahmanandaji. So Brahmananji as a relation is my Parama Guru. So I was reading my Guru's reminiscences about Swami Brahmananda. So I was interesting that how Swami Brahmananji is talking to my Guru about Holy Mother. He says, Swami Nirvanananji Maharaj says, of the three temples on the river front of the mud, that is those of Swami Brahmananda, the Holy Mother, and Swami Vivekananda. There are three temples are there. So, of the three temples, that of the mother alone faces the Ganges. He says, mother had a deep love for the Ganges river. She loved to bathe in it, to gaze at it, and to dwell on its bank. That is why her temple faces the Ganges. She is looking upon the Ganges all the time. Now you see what he used to say about Holy Mother. So my Gurudev says, Swami Brahmananda used to say, it is very difficult to know Holy Mother. She conducts herself as an ordinary woman with her head and face covered by her sari. But she is the mother of the universe in person. Had Sri Ramakrishna not revealed her true identity to us, there was little chance of even our knowing her. This is what Brahmananji says. It is very interesting how Brahmananji puts in a few words about the glory of the Holy Mother. And he says that if Sri Ramakrishna has not told about the glory of Holy Mother to us, we would not even known about that. She is such an ordinary looking, and she was with her face covered by her sari spallu, and nobody could even see her properly. And that lady, he says, she was the mother of the universe in person, that is, in embodied person. The mother of the universe, who is the spirit, the supreme spirit, has embodied in this form as Sri Sarada Devi, for us, Holy Mother. So such greatness is there. And he says, when mother fell ill in the month of July, about a week back before her Mahaprayan, that is leaving this world, at that time, a week back, she was ill. So this news had reached Swami Brahmananji. Brahmananda at that time was in Bhubaneswar. He used to love this Bhubaneswar mutt. Swami Gahananji Maharaj was there. He joined that place and he stayed there for a few years under my Guru, who was at that time the head of the Bhubaneswar Mutt. So Swami Brahmananji also used to go there and stay there. So Swami Brahmananji, he was staying at Bhubaneswar. It was on 20th July 1920. On that day, what happened you hear from the words of Swami Nirvanananji. He says, I used to attend on him at Bhubaneswar. At about 1:30 a.m., that is past midnight, a.m., 1:30 a.m., on the night of Mother's Mahasamadhi. Mother attained Mahasamadhi at 1:30 a.m. on 20th July. That means it was the 19th night, past midnight. So it became 20th. So according to the Gregorian calendar, it is 20th July. I entered Swami Brahmananda's room and found him sitting in an armchair with a shawl wrapped around him. So it was very unusual that Swami Brahmananji sitting at that time. He looked very grave, he says. He asked me, "What time of night is it, Suju?" His name was Surya. So Surya is a corrupted form of calling name, Suju. So Suji or Suju, they say. Many people even now they remember when you senior devotees, they say, "Oh, we know Suji Maharaj." They say, Suji Maharaj, that is the earlier name, Surya was his earlier name. So people call him either Suji or Suju Maharaj. So Maharaj used to call him sometimes Suji, sometimes Suju. So he said, "Suju, what time it is?" This is an affectionate form of calling. He says, "Can't say why, my heart is aching for mother. Heaven knows how she is." Brahmanaji is exclaiming. And then I asked him, "Won't you go to bed?" He did not reply. Noticing his noting his grave mood and learning, where is the sentence, about his anxiety for mother, I tried to cheer him up, saying, "Shall I bring you a hookah for smoking, Maharaj?" But he said, he ignored my offer and continued to sit in the same manner. Seeing him in such a mood, I did not dare to ask him anything further and quietly left the room. He says, then what happened the next morning? The next morning, Swami Brahmananda seemed somewhat restless. He used to go for a walk in the mornings, but that day he did not go for a walk. He was pacing the front veranda up and down. That very day, postman delivered a telegram from Swami Sardananda saying that mother had left her mortal body on the previous night at 1:30 a.m. See the telepathic connection between the Holy Mother and Swami Brahmananda. Today is his birthday. And Swami Brahmananda felt while sitting at Banaras, something is not going right with mother's health. And at the same time, at 1:30 a.m., around that time, Swamiji was not able to sleep. He was thinking about Holy Mother. And that time, she left her mortal coil. A little later, he sat up again and announced, "I shall observe who is she, during mourning days." That is, whatever the number of days you mourn for a dead person who is related to you, what you do, you don't eat the luxury of other eatings you don't have. You have hovishi. Hovishi means a havishya. In Sanskrit, it's called havishya. Havishya annam. So this havishya in Bangla it is pronounced as hobishi. So this havishya annam, he would take, and it doesn't have salt, rice, and with ghee inside, and some vegetables you can have, not root vegetables like potato, beetroot, etc. But under the ground, it is grown. But only the leafy vegetables you can have, and you can have all those boiled without adding spices. So that is how Avishyana. So I shall observe Havishi, morning. All disciples of Mother shall observe Havishi for 3 days and shall not wear shoes during this period. So these are all very strict rules, for those people, for the householders. If their own father and mother or grandmother, grandfather passes away, then they will have to observe certain rules of conduct. But for a sannyasi, nothing is required. But out of great love for the Holy Mother, she is not a mere Guru Patni for him. She gave so much advice in the conduct of the Ramakrishna order. How many times Brahmanji used to go and sit at her feet, he and Sardananji, and used to tell the problems of the Ramakrishna order. And she, an unlettered woman, not knowing the law of the land, she would give solutions, that is, excellent solutions for the problems, for the challenges that they faced. So you can see that. So she is equivalent to a guru. So if a guru passes away, what you do? Many devotees write to me, when their gurus passed away in the past, they used to write to me, Maharaj, I hear that my guru has left his mortal body. Now what we should do? So I tell them the instructions I give. If your guru has passed away, you should do this 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that, I give the bullet point instructions. So here you see, Brahmananji, he himself has followed that. He said, mother's disciples will take only Habishe Anna and then they would not wear shoes. That means wherever you go, wherever you walk, without sandals, you will be walking. I shall observe, because he considered Holy Mother as his own guru. And he says, for 3 days, he did not speak to anyone. He observed Mauna Vratam, Mauni, not speaking to anybody. No word was uttered outside. 3 days, and he ate only food that prescribed during morning for 12 days and did not use shoes. See, that was a great devotion that Swami Brahmananji had for Holy Mother. It's a wonderful thing, when we read this, that how those great sadhus have lived their life. These are all instructions for us to know how we should conduct ourselves in our lives. So it is important for us to know also from these things we take up those points, and then try to observe in our own life, so that the religious tradition is followed from person to person to person. So this is done. So today, on the holy birthday of Swami Brahmananji, we could remember him and join with the Holy Mother. How wonderful it was, their relationship was. Now you see, here we come to this text of Swami Gambhirananji's book. There, first reflection I should make it upon this idea of Durga Puja as Bodhana. It's a very important point, It's called Bodhan or Bodhana. When you write in Bangla, it is that half na is not used, full na is put, Bodhana. But in Hindi, etc., we say Bodhan. Or in colloquial language, we say Bodhan. So Bodhan means what? Awakening. So awakening, you see. So your Durga is said to be sleeping all these days. So the question comes, when you make a bodhan, that is awakening of the deity for the worship. So naturally, people would raise this question: why you need to awaken a deity? Is Durga, that means sleeping? One small boy asked me in Ranchi, Maharaj, please tell me, does God sleep? A very good question. What our Puranas say, our Puranas have got wonderful stories for everything. If you say, one joke goes around that one Christian was talking to a Hindu. So he said, God created this universe for 6 days and he was tired. So on Sunday, he took rest. So after 6 days of creation, he was tired, he took rest. That's why Sunday is a holiday for the whole world. Like that he was telling. So this Hindu boy said, oh, that is only a small way you are telling. What we believe, for 4 months, the Vishnu, who is the god of sustenance, sleeps away. Not only he, all the devatas sleep for 4 months, not one day. Your God only takes a rest. Our God goes into sleep for 4 months. Jokingly, he said, what? The Puranas also have that. Puranas say that 4 months in a year, all the gods go into sleep. It's very interesting. This is connected to astronomy, Jyotish Shastra, not astrology. I'm not speaking about astrology. In astronomy, the study of the science to study the movement of the heavenly bodies, as they are called, of all these navagrahas, of all the planets, for the stars, the sun, and so many other things that are there in the galaxy. All these things are all moving objects, mind you. Everything is moving. That is the beauty of this universe. Though I am sitting stationary, I feel I am not stationary at all. Because the part where I am there, Ireland, is part of this globe, and the globe is moving around. It in itself it is moving. And also, while moving in itself, it is moving a little inch by inch ahead and moves around the sun also. Sun is in the center. So the earth has got its own orbit, and in that orbit line it moves on. Likewise, the other Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, everything is moving around. And moon is there, a small portion moon. And that small moon is moving around the earth. If this is earth, moon is moving around the earth. And along with the moon revolving around the earth revolves around the sun. So we are taught in the young age, in the school, we are taught that if the earth revolves one round, and that is 24 hours. And if it revolves around the sun and comes back to its own spot, it takes for the earth 365 days. Is equivalent to 1 year. Now, Hindus have got a calendar system. Very long back, we had a calendar system. And that calendar system was much more efficient. Rather, very strongly, it was clear cut, it was, unlike the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar initially was only 8 months. And then Julius Caesar added 1 month in his name. So July was introduced. Then, likewise, other months were introduced later, and now it has settled to 12 months. But it did not start with 12 months. And then, in the 12 months also, not every month has got same number of days. Some months are 30, some numbers are 31 days, and a month comes in 28 days also. Highly confusing. Because we all have been acclimatized to that idea of Gregorian calendar, it is all easy now. But in the initial stages, the young age, at the class of 2 or 3, I was finding it difficult to remember. So my teacher told me, hold your fist like this. And you see the mount, wherever mount comes, those are all 31 days. So January. Then the lower portion is February. The mount, second mount is March, then 31 days. Then April down, then May 31. So June, July, like that. So like that we have to remember and make, now it is all understood. But then in the lunar calendar, it is not like that. Because lunar calendar is based, the day is based on the revolving or the circling of the moon. How the moon circles around the earth. It takes moon 30 exact days to circle around the earth. So first 15 days, the moon is waxing moon, it is called. That is, from the new moon, progressively it is going to the full moon. So waxing period. So in Sanskrit, they call it Shukla Paksha. That is, 14 days is fortnight, we say. Actually, it is 15 days. So 14 days, fortnight, it's called so Shukla Paksha means fortnight. So this waxing period, Shukla Paksha, moon is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, progressively becoming bigger, and it becomes full moon on the 15th day. And from that day onwards, it comes on a waning stage. It is called Krishna Paksha. And then it goes slowly, slowly reducing itself to become nil completely on the Amavasya night. So when the new moon comes, we call it Amavasya. When the full moon comes, we call it Purnima. So the Hindus' lunar calendar considered a day not from midnight 12 to next day midnight 12. That is the Gregorian calendar does. But according to Hindu lunar calendar, from sunrise to the next sunrise. That 24 hours, sunrise to next sunrise, is divided into two parts. One is daytime, another is nighttime. If you take from midnight to midnight, it's difficult to find out half day and half night. It is not contiguous. It is disturbed. So the lunar calendar says from sunrise to sunrise, next to sunrise, if you take, exactly you get half day, half night, divided into two parts. So a day is divided into two parts. A month is divided into two parts, Krishna Paksha and Shukla Paksha. That is waxing moon and waning moons. 15 days, 15 days. Likewise, the entire year, 365 days a year, is divided into two parts again. One is Uttarayana, another is Dakshinayana. 6 months are attributed to a phase called summer solstice. You know, June 21st is the longest day in the whole calendar. And the shortest day is what? December 21. So this June 21 is the longest day. How the longest day happens? It is because after the Dakshinayana ending, the sun starts withdrawing itself in its path and then starts moving towards north. So from it was going towards south in Dakshinayana, and it is now withdrawing itself and starts progressing towards north. And the highest day, the longest day comes in June 21. So when does it starts changing? That beginning of the change is called Sankramana. Sankramana means changing. So it's called Sankranti. So Sankranti comes in the month of January. We all know that. It's called Makara Sankranti. Sun entering the constellation of Makara. So Capricorn, as they call it. So in that it is entering. And from there, progressively, it will go towards the northern side. So in June, when you say, strictly speaking, when you say sun rises in the east, it is not so. East, west, north, south is all determined according to the pole star, mind you. But here, sun does not rise in the east actually. It rises somewhere in between east and north because it is moving towards the north, you see. The same way, after June 21st, then what happens? It starts moving towards south. Somewhere it is leaning towards south, and that is called Dakshinayana. Now, a great thing has been discussed in the Puranas, and even in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna speaks about this Dakshinayana and Uttarayana. It is said that Bhishma was hit by Arjuna's arrows and he fell down on the battlefield. And while he was falling down, Sri Krishna told Arjuna, "Your grandsire is falling on the ground. Protect him." So Arjuna aimed several arrows, and those arrows made a bed for Bhishma. And Bhishma fell on the bed of arrows. And he was not leaving his body because Bhishma had that power to leave his body whatever time. So Krishna asked Bhishma, "Why you are not leaving the body and you are suffering and lying on the bed of arrows? And for us, it is very, very sorrowful to see you in this condition. Because you are self-willed, you can leave your body at any time. Why don't you leave your body?" But Bhishma replied, "No, this is the Dakshinayana time. I will not leave my body. I will wait for the Uttarayan time to begin. Let the sun starts moving towards north. Then I will leave." What is the meaning of that? So Sri Krishna says, if anybody leaves his body during the Uttarayan period, the body moves into higher regions. And if anybody leaves his body during the Dakshinayan period, his body goes through the darker spheres. So these ideas are to be much more explored. In this class, I have got no time to tell you about those. What is the significance of this darker path and a shiny path? There is quite a good discussion we can have some other time. But then, what happens to the devatas? They are all go to sleep during the Dakshinayan time. It is said Lord Vishnu goes into sleep for 4 months during this July month onwards. It's called Ashad. Ashad month means rainy season. In India, 6 seasons are there, not 4 seasons. So 6 seasons, one of the seasons, the rainy season. The season itself, 2 months, you will have torrential rains everywhere. So that rainy season begins in the month of July. And at that time, on the 11th phase of the moon, which is called Ekadashi, Ashad Ekadashi, on that day, Sri Vishnu goes into sleep. And then he wakes up. In the Kartik month, after 4 months, the Kartik month comes. That Kartik month, another Ekadashi comes. In that Ekadashi, he wakes up. It is called Prabuddha Ekadashi. Waking up Ekadashi is called Prabuddha Ekadashi. And what is the name of the going to sleep Ekadashi? That is called Shayana Ekadashi. Shayan means sleep. Bed for sleeping. So Deva Shayan Ekadashi it is called. Or it is another name is Hari Shayan Ekadashi. So Hari goes into sleep. That is how the Puranas explain. So this sleep period, what happens? Why Vishnu has to go into sleep? Not Brahma, not Shiva, but among the 3 Murtis, among the holy trios, only one goes into sleep. And the Vishnu's duty is to conserve, to sustain, to maintain this universe. If he goes into sleep, what will happen? So the winter solstice, that period of the winter, the solstice comes on December 21. That winter solstice has got another name in English. It is called hibernation cycle. It is said from the start of the heavy torrential rains, the earth goes into hibernation. In the winter, what happens? Everything goes into sleep. Recently, I saw a photograph of Dublin. We had a lot of snow last week. And again, coming week, we are going to have snow. More heavier than last week. That is what the Met department says. So I saw a photograph of a beautiful photograph. Everywhere snow. And on the door, there is a spider thread going from down to up. And the spider is standing in somewhere in the middle of that thread. Its own thread, saliva thread. That thread is there and it is standing there. And the whole thread is covered by snow. And the spider also covered by snow and it is stunned there. It's in a sleeping stage, coma stage. The whole earth goes into hibernation. Hibernation is required for renewal of energy. So what happens during this winter solstice period? That's why first 4 months of this winter period, monks say it is called Chaturmash. 4 months. The title is called 4 months. That is the name of that period. In that period, you should not go out. Imagine before the all-weather roads happened. Nowadays, you have many places all-weather roads. Even in torrential rains, the road will not be disturbed. It won't be spoiled. But consider long, long back in our history. In those days, where were the roads? Such roads were not there. All muddy roads. They would be washed away. Rocks will break down in the torrential rains. And paths are washed out. So you will not know where is the path. So how you will go? And also, just after the rainy season, you will find plenty of insects coming up for the birds. And the birds are very happy. And they have got enough food, abundance. Likewise, the whole earth is going to regenerate from the month of Ashwin. So, Puranas always tell you in story form some scientific facts. So, I found it this Vishnu going to sleep is nothing but a way of nature taking its own hibernation period at that time. And then it renews. Renewal means what? Awakening. So, in the Ashwin month, Durga Puja starting time awakens. And during this 6 months period of dark period, the Dakshinayana, Devas goes into sleep. They say, what does it mean? The Devatas, that means the forces that are good to the world, that are doing welfare to the world, they go into hibernation. With the result, the forces of evil flourish. So you find the demons rise in power during the darker period. The demons, the Rakshasas, as the Puranas speak of them, they rise in power. Those who have got bad qualities, those who are bent upon doing bad things in the world, their power increases during this hibernation period. And they go to a high height where again the awakening comes, then Durga kills all these demons. So a big battle ensues when Durga is awakened on the Bodhan day. What happens? She's awakened now, she goes for the demon's life. Several demons she kills. So the good forces awakened. Along with Durga, all the Devasas get awakened. So that is how this going to sleep and awakening is connected. So ideologically, this awakening has to be done for Durga Puja and Ashwin month. So in the Ashwin month, we find that Durga Puja starts. So this Bodhan is very important. So awakening. We all want awakening. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Swamiji's instruction is there. Arise and awake. Rising is very easy. You just get up from sleep. Okay. Now I am awakened. Can you say I am awakened? No. Even after getting out from the sleep, even after getting out from your bed, you are still in ignorance. You are not awakened. You are not awakened. The wake up call Swamiji gives. That way he says, first arise, get up from bed. Don't be tamasic. Get up from bed and be rajasic. Be active. Then awake. He calls us awake. So this awakening is very important in religious life. And that's what Durga Puja's Bodhan day signifies, this awakening. So, and on that day, evening, to Belur Math, Holy Mother is coming. You see what Premananda, who is the manager of the Math, was so happy on that day. It was 1912, 11 years have passed, Swamiji is passing away. So after that, Mother is coming. And then the sacred pictures and plantain trees are kept. These are all Mangala Chinna, as it's called, symbols of Mangala, that is, symbols of auspiciousness. A plantain leaf, a plantain trunk, and with the leaves. Why? The plantain, is any side, anywhere, any part of the plantain is edible. It can be cooked. You don't need to throw it anywhere. And without your effort, the progeny continues. If you put one plantain, another plantain, the baby plantain comes next to it without your effort. So plantain is an eternal plant as it is. So this is called, that's why it is very auspicious. The plantain leaf has to be kept. And then they say that sacred pictures, yes, pictures symbolize, kumbha. Kumbha symbolizes many things, of course. And and the pictures are very nicely drawn outside, the painting. And then they keep a coconut and mango leaves, and then keep the pictures as a welcome, as a reception to Holy Mother. Everything has been done, and the Bodhan Puja has just been over. At that time, Mother enters Belur Math. What a wonderful period for these monks and brahmacharis and the devotees who have come to Belur Math on that day. They all see, and Mother was extremely happy. When the horses were untied from the carriage, Mother slowly got down, and Golapma helped her coming down. Mother, standing there, looked around with beaming eyes. What she commented? She says, everything is ready tip top. It is as though we ourselves have come attired like the goddess Durga. She's telling as though, but it is really goddess Durga had come on that day in the form of Holy Mother. Is it not? Is not our mother goddess Durga? That divine person, that divine principle or the power has come in persons. That's what Swami Brahmananji tells to my Guru. You know who is Sarada? Sarada is Devi, is none but the divine personality. It has come in this person, in this form. That's what it says. So she lived in Belur Math, and there is a garden house there, said that north of the monastery, and along with her, they lived also the house Yogin Ma, Golapma, Lashmi Didi, and Bhanu Pishi, and all those people, the lady guests, they also stayed there. And see, on second day also, 300 devotees came, says, and they came and made obeisance to, for 4 people of them, she initiated them. She gave mantra diksha. And then the drama was there. That is the beauty of these celebrations in India. Anywhere you go, rural area, Belur was a village only, village people join together. And some type of drama must be there so that people can enjoy. Because these dramas are culled from, are collated from, are taken from the Puranas. There are many historical aspects of their characters are there that also enacted. And Girish Chandra Ghosh was a good dramatist. He has done a drama on Jana. So Holy Mother saw that. Who is this Jana, you may ask. I did also know, not knowing who is this Jana. But in Bengali history, Jana has got an important part. Actually, in the eastern portion of India, if you go to the Mahabharata times, Anga, Kalinga, these are all the names of these places. So Anga was Odisha, present Odisha. Kalinga was the present Odisha. And Anga was Anga, Banga, and Kalinga. These are the three portions of the eastern side of India. And they were all there and they took part in the Mahabharata war also. This uh, Anga Raja was the Karna. Karna was given that portion, that territory by Duryodhana. You rule this kingdom. So likewise, many people were there. So when Jana was their own lady, and one place was there, a very good capital of a country called Mahishmati. And Mahishmati was a place. In those times, in Mahabharata times, you find after the war was over, 18-day war was over, Yudhishthira became the Chakravarti, that is the emperor. So if you are declaring yourself a emperor, you must win all the other kings. Their obedience you must first get. For that, there is a process. It is called sending out a horse. It should be a black horse. A black horse is found out, and then a black horse will be allowed to move, wander anywhere. And in any country it can go. And behind him, at a distance, the soldiers of that country, the army head general will be there, etc. So Yudhishthira sent one horse like that, and Arjuna was the chief, and he is holding the forces under his control, and they are following the horse. If any country it goes, and that country's king sees this horse, he must pay respects to this horse, and then bring lots of gifts, and he give it to Arjuna. And while Arjuna going back to his place, Hastinapur, he will take back all those things. So that is the system. That means that king has accepted the sovereignty or supremacy of Yudhishthira. That is the meaning. So the horse came to Mahishmati, the Mahishmati Raja. His name was Prabiro. In Bangla it is used, pronounced as Prabiro. In Hindi it is Pravir. So this Pravir, he was the king. He said, I shall not accept the supremacy of Yudhishthira. He said. So he was ready to fight with Arjuna. Arjuna said, okay, come and fight with me. So Pravira had wonderful devotion to his mother Jana. You know, it is a kavya. Kavya means literature. This type of literature, you know, bring out the ethos of that relationship between a son and mother. How wonderful the relationship is. He comes to Jana and he says, Mother, what should I do? Yudhishthira has sent his horse to our country. Should we accept as a slave the sovereignty of the supremacy of Yudhishthira? Jana says, how can you, my son? You are born to a man who was all along a great hero of our land. How can you accept the supremacy of Yudhishthira? You must fight. She goads him. She gives him wonderful advice. You know, those are all written in the form of a poetry. So in Bengali literature, you find these type of theatrics are very popular. Even one gentleman, Michael Madhusudan, wrote about Ravana's greatness, you know, and Indrajit, how Indrajit was great. If you read that kavya, that literature, you will not have much devotion to Sri Ram afterwards. You would like to admire Ravan and Indrajit. So such glorious way he has put them. It is literature. See, that is the literary thing, no? When you write something, you must make people impressive. So this Jana was such, this kavya, this Jana kavya was very good. So this was the drama that was enacted. And Jana comes, and her part is very important. She is the heroine actually, in that whole setup. The mother is the heroine. So the mother says to her son and inspires him to go for the war. And he goes to the war. And where is Arjun? And where is Praviro? Praviro was simply vanquished. And he was killed by Arjuna. And then that grandest moment comes when Arjuna comes to meet Jana, the mother of this boy. A very emotional scene. That mother is absolutely, completely forlorn. She says, I am the cause of my own son's death. Did I not send him to war? Why I did not say, accept the supremacy of Yudhishthira and don't fight with Arjuna? Like this, she starts lamenting. At that time, Arjuna comes, and the meeting between them is a tremendous thing. It is like a bomb explosion, emotional explosion takes place, and Arjuna falls at her feet and calls her mother. He says, Ma, one son is gone for you, but here is another son who will stand with you. He promises her. And the story comes to an end like that. So, that Jana drama, Holy Mother saw. This drama has got that wonderful way of bringing out the motherly affection. You see, in every big literature, what happens? You can take one small part. I have seen a film in Tamil on Karna. Karna is depicted in many ways in Mahabharata. And some people say Karna was a bad man. So what Karna got in the last was he deserved that. Like that, some people speak. And some people speak the same Mahabharata. Again, there are other positive points of Karna also told. That he was the greatest sacrificer, the greatest man who could give everything. Even knowing Krishna has come in the form of a Brahmin and asking for his kavach kundal, etc., he's ready to give. To Indra, he gives. So, even knowing them. So, he was a man of a dani, Karna. Karna is a great dani. It's a donor. Donation he used to give. Everything, whoever asked whatever, he would give. So, there are many good qualities are there of Karna. Those things are taken out in that film. And when I saw the film, we all used to weep during seeing the film. Because Karna, such a good man, noble person, is suffering a lot. And you get anger on Arjuna. Why did you kill Karna? That is how the literature comes in our life. It brings out some of the hidden emotions in our life, which we never find channels to express. And those things, the poets and the writers, they bring out so beautifully in their literary works and they give to us. In the same way, the whole of Mahabharata Vyasa is nothing but that. So much of emotion, Navarasa, as called emotion, is 9 types. 9 types of emotions are there in this world. Our Indian Natya Shastra, that is the dance Shastra, the scriptures have analyzed all the emotions of the human, the entire gamut of emotions, and categorize them into 9 kinds. So they are called Navarasa. These 9 kinds of emotions, in one's life, you see how many emotions you could speak out, you could take out, you have manifested how many. There are some emotions are gone or just hidden and never expressed. Such emotions are there. So when you read this, you get tears. When I read about Krishna's Charita, in some places I do get tears. You read Mahabharata, Ramayana. Ramayana, you read what Bharat says, Bharat and Ram, the conversation between them. You will shed tears. So, such grand emotions are put up in this heavy literary work. That is what mother looked at that. On that day, she saw along with hundreds and thousands of people who sat there and witnessed the drama of Jana. And 2 dramas were enacted. Another drama was Rama Ashwamedha. This story is mostly known to us because Ram also did this, sent this horse everywhere. And when he sent the horse came to Bitur from Ayodhya near Kanpur, there is a town called, and a village called Bitur, where Lava Kush were born. So the Lava Kushas are already grown up. They're 5-6-year-old boys. They catch the horse and they say, we will not allow. And Shatrughan was there. Shatrughan said, this belongs to our king Ram. You have to leave them. Otherwise, you have to accept the Ram supremacy. The Lava-Kusha says, who is Ram? We will not accept his supremacy. If you want to fight, fight with us. And then Shatrughan was beaten. He was vanquished. He goes back to Sri Ram and tells, oh Sri Ram, I saw two boys, young boys. Their name is Lava and Kusha, and they beat me out. Then Ram says, Lakshmana, you go. And then Lakshmana comes. He knows who are these Lava Kusha. So he gets defeated. And then he requests this Lava Kusha, please come with me. I will take you to Sri Ram and see Ramachandra. That's how Ram meets Lava Kusha first time in Ayodhya. His own sons, he has never seen him earlier. So these are all highly emotion-packed stories. They are enacted as drama. And that type of dramas, must be, because this Rameshwar Meda is written by Girish Chandra Ghosh. So naturally, mother would have definitely enjoyed that drama. Even today, when we think about those dramas, we can get that high pleasure of seeing such dramas where they are all packed with emotion. Let us continue next week. Om Kripam Kuru Mahadevi Suteshu Pranateshu Cha Charanasraya Danena Kripamayi Namostute. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.